So I watched an episode of Law and Order Special Victims Unit, and in this particular episode, a young girl, about 15 years old, was on trial for murdering her mother after learning that her mother was suffering from Munchausen's by proxy, which is a mental issue in which you pretend that your child has an illness or multiple illnesses that they in fact do not have. So this mother had been faking a few major illnesses for her daughter and was forcing her to take unnecessary medications that actually harmed her and made her sick. So the daughter learns this and kills her mother. Um, and in the trial, one of the closing remarks is performed by the girl's lawyer, so it was a defense speech. And the lawyer used pathos and logos. She didn't have much ethos because it was clear that she knew that the daughter had murdered her mother and was still supporting her and defending her anyway. So it's hard to say that someone's credible when they know that they're defending someone who has committed a crime, in my opinion. But the way she incorporated pathos into her argument is she talked about a mother daughter relationship and how it's really supposed to look and be and feel, and how that's different from the mother daughter relationship that was a part of this crime that was committed. So she, made the jury feel like the mother should have been taking care of her daughter versus making her sick, which is a good argument. She also focused on the fear of the victim. The victim felt it like it was a never ending thing and that her mother could do this to her again. So she acted out this crime because of fear. And she used logos in her argument by explaining that the mother would not be facing a long sentence and that there was little treatment for Munchausen's by proxy disorder, and it was likely the mother would never be cured of this issue, and that if she were to be put on trial for harming her daughter in this way, she may only be facing up to a year of time in jail, and which are other reasons that led the daughter to commit the murder against her mother. So that's how the defense used an argument of logos. Um, the attributed intentions of the TV show, or this episode of Law and Order Special Victims Unit, it created some intrigue and it forced the audience, or me, to really care for the main character, which in this case was the victim and the criminal. It really made me feel for her. So I think that was the attributed intentions of the TV show, was to create create a deep, sincere care for the girl that was on trial. Um, I think, you know, in this case, I identified most with a lady named Detective Rollins, who was one of the lead detectives on the case. And I think, before the murder was committed, and they were just talking about putting the mother on trial for the Munchausen's by proxy disorder and harming her daughter, she was really concerned about, sentencing someone who was suffering from a mental disability. And I think that I kind of related to that in a way because, the mother, even though she knew what she was doing, she couldn't help it, which is a loose argument, but I felt like I related to her when she was arguing that point. In this show, there were some values that I noticed. One was obviously good versus evil. There was a lot of this is right and this is wrong, and these are the consequences for what is wrong. But there was also the good versus evil versus law observance. At the very end of the show, the prosecutor actually forced it to be a mistrial by tampering with it. So it's like he knew that the girl was in trouble. She should have been, because she committed a crime. And that was him observing the law. But it was also the issue of good versus evil. Was this girl really evil, or was she protecting herself? And she was also 15 years old. So it was a sticky situation, good versus evil plus law observance. So those values came into play during this episode. On another note, I've looked into a show with a very large fan base, and I'm actually a fan of this show myself. Lost is the name of the show, and there are some extreme fan. There's an extreme fan base. Um, they've actually watched the series over again and put in order all of the flashbacks and the things that are happening in real time and put them in order to try to figure out some of the secrets or clues and put it all together. And I think that takes a lot of time, and I think that's a really extreme thing to do, to watch back that many episodes and stop and have time to put them all in chronological order. I thought that was a little crazy. And another quote from the show that's been used over and over is from one of the main characters, John Locke. He always says, "Don't tell me what I can't do." And so that's a reiterated quote from the show that I've used myself.